Hey, everybody. If you're catching this live, appreciate it. If you are checking out the replay, also appreciate it. I wanted to do a quick clarification video. The other day, I did a video about um, AI chain. There's lots of bings and beeps going on. The AI chaining is all about taking a chatbot or a custom GPT and chaining AI along. And I realized that my video was a little bit lengthy. My post on LinkedIn was a little bit lengthy, which makes it hard to want to read it as you're skimming through, and it makes it hard also to understand if you're not taking the time to actually absorb it. So here's a quick summary, very easy to understand to make sure that you get it, because I think it's an important point. The idea is that these days when we're creating chat GPT plugins, we're creating custom GPTs, we're doing things like that. We're getting into using our own data, right? So we have PDFs, we have spreadsheets and things like that. And we're starting to pull those in and we're getting some okay results. At first, they're great results. But the bigger your conversations go, the more the results kind of fall apart. Here's why. Your conversation starts like this. Your prompt says this. As your conversation goes, your prompt and all the context has, because on every single turn, that whole conversation needs to go to the LLM, ChatGPT, to get interpreted. It starts fresh, so you have to give it the whole context. So every single turn, it gets the whole thing, makes a new interpretation. It has to work off of the history that you have, but it's a new interpretation every time. The more you give it, the better the interpretation can be. But as topics start to shift and the conversation shifts a bit, it has to interpret the entire conversation and go, I think they're talking about this or, whatever. Anyway, it gets confused. So the solution, in my opinion, is to take control. Because here's the thing. The problem is that when you do a conversation and you give it data, you're giving it all the power. You're giving GPT all the power to make the decision on what should be done, what should be said, what the right response is. And you're just crossing your fingers, hoping that that response comes back something meaningful for you. You don't have control. Your prompt has control, but think about this. Your prompt is done at the beginning. As the conversation goes, that same prompt is in play. You're not getting to change it partway through. You try to maneuver things along the way or start new threads. There are some mechanisms that people are doing, but what I want to talk about is AI chaining. This is where you take more control back. Knowing what I just said, what you do is instead of giving them the raw data, giving them the spreadsheet, giving them the PDF, you give them a link to an API of yours. So you're telling it, hey, I've got the stuff for you. I've got it in a way that you can look at and understand. So you create off to the side an API that has in it all of your rules, your expectations, your data. So what that does is gives you back the control. So now when the prompt comes in to ChatGPT, it says, oh, we were talking about this thing. Let me go call Greg's API. Greg's API then says, yeah, I'm using this spreadsheet over here. I'm going out to the Weather Channel over there. I'm going over to ESPN Sport Data over here. I'm going to Yahoo Finance over there. You get to control where the data comes from, how it comes back, and then package it up in a way that the custom GPT can then understand, because you know how that thing works. Okay? There's a human element to it. You know how these prompts work. You know how it's going to tend to respond. So you sort of readjust the game. Otherwise, you're letting GPT readjust the game with what it knows about you, which isn't very much. It only knows what's in that prompt. So the chaining aspect comes like this. Imagine custom GPT calls down to your API. You go and grab data, your data, third-party data, whatever it might be. Now, when you get that data back, you can actually run that data against GPT using OpenAI's own API. You go under the covers over to ChatGPT and say, hey, here's this spreadsheet data. Hey, here's this weather data, finance data, sports data, whatever. Come back to me with text about it. I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. So what you're doing is you create a prompt with your data that you send under the covers over to ChatGPT, and it says, oh yeah, I can do that. It's like a whole brand new conversation. Oh yeah, I can do that every time. Oh yeah, I can do that. Comes back with data in text form, the way ChatGPT does its thing, right? Now you have text, you have context, you have all of the data that you talked about, you have the messaging, you have the format that you want. You're in control. And now you give that back to ChatGPT, the original ChatGPT. Somebody say this one more time. ChatGPT, your custom GPT that you're creating, so cool, going to go against your data, going to go against spreadsheets, going to go against weather data, whatever. Instead, you give it a general prompt and send it off to your API. Your API does its thing, gets all that cool data, returns it back to you in text that the custom GPT can then use as its value. Because remember, the custom GPT takes a prompt and data, puts them together, throws it down to ChatGPT to get a result. All you're doing is saying, instead of you figuring out the data, ChatGPT, you summarizing what I put down there, you knowing what parts of the document I'm actually talking about, I'll do that. I'll go get the summary. I'll go get the data. I'll go get all this stuff. I'm going to actually run it through ChatGPT under the covers, come back with ChatGPT formatted text. You like working with that, don't you? ChatGPT says, yeah, that's easy. I like that. That's text. That's in my format. It's great. Your result that you get back then is going to be that much better. Because remember, you're using ChatGPT or your custom GPT to come up with a specific type of results. And what happens is, by itself, the conversation starts to fall apart because it gets bigger and it can only handle so much, and it starts to forget. My hand goes out of the screen because conversation's too big. So you keep redefining it, sending them over to you. So there's that chaining. It's basically AI chains to me, which chains to AI, comes back, goes back, returns a better result. So that's really the quick and dirty of it. It comes down to you taking control, and in that, you call out to the API yourself. You call out to the AI yourself. Get formatted results that you know ChatGPT can make sense of. It's that straightforward. So hopefully that makes it easier to grasp and understand. It's just chaining these things along. I find that the results that I get back are a lot better. Yes, it does take a little bit of code to create an API that can do all that stuff, but that's what I do on a day-to-day basis, and I'd love to help you out. A quick note here that yes, I can do this for you, and I can help you also build it yourself. It does take a little bit of work, but once it's in place, it just runs. It's so smooth. And the framework that I use for myself is very much geared towards quick, easy. Like literally, I can go from an idea of, hey, I need data somewhere out there, to 2 hours. It's done and in play. It's really not difficult. So anyway, I'd love to show you, but that's the idea of it. Okay, chain your AI and get the best out of the AI downstream, and then bring that information back. You'll get way better results. Anyway, hope that helps. Have a great rest of your day.